NXT Stand and Deliver from this past weekend. It was the first one not affiliated with WrestleMania weekend. It was in St. Louis at a AEW Dynamite style venue, if you will. And I guess quickly some takeaways. We'll start with you, Brandon. Just overall, did this feel like, and we can go back before Stand and Deliver to the takeovers and all that. Did this feel like NXT's signature WrestleMania weekend event?
I think so. I think it checked all the boxes in my book. I was able to watch the show on YouTube, which was kind of nice. I didn't have to worry about having to figure out the best way to watch it and this and that. It's on YouTube. You just type it in. It was on there. I watched it at my leisure over the weekend because I didn't watch it all live. I watched bits and pieces. And I watched some of it with my daughter on the night of, like the actual, the day or the night of the show. And then I watched it the rest of the weekend. And from what I watched, I thought it was a pretty good show. I mean, there were some memorable moments that, unfortunately, I think JC Jane would like to forget. Unfortunately,
she had a little Janet Jackson moment. It's been a while since, Brandon, you told me about it. I didn't necessarily catch it live in the moment because, again, kind of watching it here and there. I was watching it with the sound off while I was doing something else for work-wise. But what you showed me, it reminded me similar to, Armageddon 99. You pause in the VHS tape there. Kind of thing. So yeah, it's been a while since we've seen something like that. I guess it's weird that we don't see things like that, I guess, because we do have a lot more women's wrestling than we ever did before. So things happen, in the world of wrestling.
I feel bad for JC Jane in that aspect because her and Lola Vice in particular they put on a really good match. I mean, I really was hoping I was hoping that JC Jane was going to win because I'm a big fan. I really like. I really am. I don't think she's going to be a main roster player. I feel like she's a type of person, type of competitor. I think she's perfect for NXT. I don't think you can bring everybody up because look who else was on the show this past weekend, who everyone assumed, decorated NXT career, he's going to take off on the main roster and do great things. No, he didn't. Johnny Gargano has done pretty much nothing on the main roster. I mean, overall in comparison, he was doing these segments where he's laying on crates and things like that. It was good to see Johnny Gargano in a setting where he put on it was a good. It was
him and Miles Bourne. That was a very AEW pay-per-view kind of match. I will say that did feel like something that fit right in with AEW. I will say
every time I see Miles Bourne, yes, he can. To me, he just reminds me so much of a younger Randy Orton. I say it all the time. He's not Randy Orton. Obviously, Randy Orton's one of one. Let's be honest. I don't think anyone will ever be at that level or even surpass it because he's one of the greatest of all time. But I do see a lot of similarities in Miles Bourne. I thought Johnny Gargano, that's the best he's looked in forever. I feel like that was a good match. I mean, he had that one part where he laid down on the mat and didn't do anything, and then besides that, put on a good match. I mean,
it was Johnny Gargano's second time at a Stand and Deliver since being on the main roster. If you remember him against Grayson Waller back at Stand and Deliver Los Angeles a couple of years ago. So Johnny Gargano, they fit him into the NXT world for Stand and Deliver again when it seems like he doesn't have anything going for WrestleMania. I think obviously with Tommaso Ciampa leaving, I mean, that creates a huge hole. Johnny Gargano's really got to find something now that he's on his own and there's no chance for a tag team.
You know what?
Reunion.
Just like I mentioned with JC Jane, the point I guess I was making is JC Jane's perfect for NXT. I'm not saying she couldn't do it on the main roster, but the main roster, I feel like all together, men's, women's, it's very full. It's very, I would say I don't want to say it's AEW bloated because AEW is a whole different type of bloated, but I feel like JC Janes in the world are great in NXT. They can do some damage down there. And I think this showed that Johnny Gargano can do some great work in NXT, not only in the ring still, because he's obviously he's still in wrestling terms, he's still in the prime of his career, let's be honest. And on top of it, he's also been in the business forever, it seems like. So he can also give back to the up and comers, the NIL, those type of people to help show them, the way as he used to do the way back in the day. I think Johnny Gargano, that would be good for him. I really think that, and Candice as well, because I feel like Candice hasn't done much either on the main roster. I feel like Candice could get also, in a way, give back to the younger generation of the developing superstars. I feel like they could find a niche there because, let's be honest, they both can go. They're both capable wrestlers in the squared circle. I just don't. I feel like they haven't hit the ground running as they would hope on the main roster. I don't think they're getting the pops like an Obafemi and things like that. So I feel like that'll be their way to give back. Not only stay active on the roster, but also give back. So we'll see what happens, but it was a good match. I really like that. Tony D, first NXT Grand Slam champion. Congratulations to Tony D. That was I believe he is the first. I'm pretty sure he's the first NXT Grand Slam champion. So, again, congratulations to Tony D. I like the way he reinvented himself. I think he's doing a hell of a job. I'm happy about Tony D right now.
Yeah, we got all sorts of new champions, and that's what we kind of always get, at Stand and Deliver, because it is like their WrestleMania, or that's how it's supposed to be. Tony D'Angelo's a new champion, right? We got Tatum Paxley, who was the North American champion of the women's side going in and coming out after she beat Blake Monroe. And we have new women's champion overall, women's main champion Lola Vice, beating JC Jane. So, it's not like WrestleMania weekend where it was traditional, because WrestleMania weekend would be, well, they're in Vegas or they're in wherever. So maybe we'll see them on Raw. We got a few NXT events before now and then. But on Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, are we going to see Joe Hendry? Are we going to see JC Jane? Are we going to see Blake Monroe? Or is there somebody else? None? All? What do you think?
I mean, I think they're good right now. I think the main roster is good right now. I think NXT's in a good spot.
I feel like we got to see the Monday Night Raw after, though. Unless it's somebody coming from out of NXT, there's always got to be some return or some debut.
Maybe Royce Keys. You know what I mean? Like, because Royce Keys, he debuts at the Rumble, and then we haven't seen him. He did a podcast with Stephanie. That's it. Like, that's all we've seen of him.
He's been on main event, I think, or dark matches.
I don't even count that. Like that, to me, like mainstream. The mainstream's not seeing main event. Like,
you don't see anybody from NXT currently jumping over for the big refresh that WWE ever does on the Monday Night Raw after Mania. You don't see any of the NXT people currently making their. I know Joe Hendry's been up, but
the only one that could actually do it, I think, right now would be Joe Hendry. I think JC Jane's in a good spot. I just don't want to see JC Jane kind of like. She gets a good little run for like in maybe a month, and then she's in the back, just kind of like in the background, not even doing anything, like watching others do interviews and things like that. Like JC Jane would be wasted up there, I feel like right now. I feel like the roster is just I think the roster is very deep right now, and I think some of these great wrestlers, NXT is a great place for them right now. It really is.
I will say, though, after WrestleMania, a lot of people take time off, right? The Roman Reigns is. Whoever loses the championship, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, CM Punk, you know what I mean? They take some time off. That's just how it is, after WrestleMania.
That's why Joe Hendry could be perfect.
Well, I'm thinking one guy, one female, right? And I already mentioned one in Blake Monroe, but Ricky Saints, because Blake Monroe and Ricky Saints came over after being main roster stars in AEW, going after big main roster titles at Wembley Stadium in front of 80,000 people, being a part of,
But what does that tell you, though? What does that tell you if when you come from AEW, more times than not, CM Punk's kind of a different thing. Danhausen's a whole different thing. But like Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints, Blake Monroe, like those two in particular, like you mentioned, what does that tell you about the developmental side of things with AEW? If these folks were in prominent spots on pay-per-views with AEW, but they can't crack the main roster in WWE, like what does that tell you?
Well, I think
CM Punk's different, though. CM Punk is different.
I get it that they went to NXT to do what you're saying. I'm just saying, do you think that they're still at that level? Do you think they can maybe crack the main roster now? Like Blake Monroe, she's still young. She's 27. But Ricky Saints, he's 36, very close to Cody Rhodes. You know what I mean? Do you think that he can crack the main roster? Or Ethan Page even, because he's been around. He's been in NXT. He's 36 as well.
What do you do with them? That's my question. What do you do with them? Because how many times, like, what have we seen Jordan Grace doing since he's been called up? You know what I mean? Like,
it's true.
She really hasn't done much. Can they do it? Do they have the talent? Absolutely, no doubt about it. But I don't want to. I'd rather see them competing at a high level in NXT versus maybe they have a match or two and they have a storyline or two, and then they're just sitting in the back like Apollo Crews does all the time now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But, it's similar. We always talk about that comparison to like minor league sports and how you get the call up to the big leagues and things like that. And that's what NXT feels like. But there's also those people who, if you stay too long down there, right? There's some who spend a short period of time and get sent right up like a week later. And then there's some where like, when is their time going to come? You know, like when you're starting a fourth year of being in AAA baseball, you know what I mean? You make the spring training roster, but then all of a sudden when the roster cuts come around, you're going back to AAA for like a fourth year in a row. You're like, when am I going to finally get that call? And there's like a few of those, like Ricky Saints, who's been here for a little bit. Joe Hendry, I mean, Joe Hendry was on the WrestleMania card last year. And if you had asked me, you know what I mean? I would have thought he's going to be on the WrestleMania card this year. I would have thought he was a main roster star by now. He's still obviously down
also,
in
I mean,
NXT.
if you want to hear names that I don't know anything about the particulars of Kevin Owens, but maybe Kevin Owens returns on Monday after Mania. I don't know. I don't know where he's at injury, like timeline. I don't know that. But if you're talking surprises, that'd be kind of a cool surprise. Obviously, God willing, that he can get back sooner rather than later. I'd love to see Kevin Owens back because Kevin Owens is always good TV. He's always entertaining. And, you know, I just worry that a lot of these names that you mentioned that are in NXT that are having prominent roles and doing a great job in their roles. And NXT is good television right now. Like they're the faces of this brand. And then they get called up and they get lost in the shuffle. I'm concerned about that part of it for a lot of these competitors. Ricky Saints might have a shot because he's Cody's boy. Like, I mean, maybe that helps. Ethan Page, maybe. I just don't want to see them get lost in the shuffle. That's my biggest concern.
Well, that's always, yeah. I mean, yeah, they get called. That's something, one of those things that you don't really know, right? And it's the same again, talking about like Major League Baseball. You get called up, you want to get called up no matter what. And it stinks that when you go up there and then you show that you can't be there, or in like WWE, they don't have anything for you, or they maybe have something for you right out the gate, and then you get lost, like you said, in the shuffle, and you find yourselves like Jordan Grace right now, then yeah, you know, it is tough. But at the same time, I imagine all those people want to take that chance, want to see what it's like to be up there in the main roster, to get an opportunity.
But I think from the business side of things, WWE is so loaded right now. Even if some of these stars like a CM Punk or Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, like even if they take some time off, because we know they're at least some of them are going to do it. I feel like you can't bring them all up, because when those stars come back, are we just going to push them aside again? Like it's a give and take that I'm kind of curious about. Again, it's nothing against these NXT superstars, because selfishly I want to see them on TV, and then if they get to the main roster, I just don't want to see them in the background. I want to see them in the forefront.
I'm going to an NXT house show this upcoming Thursday, so I'll see who's still there as part of that house show. And obviously, NXT has Tuesday taping this week. And I will say one thing, and we saw it where they were in Madison Square Garden's theater last week, and they obviously had the pay-per-view of that on YouTube this past week. I'm going to a house show this upcoming Thursday, and I don't necessarily know why. They don't do why it's not television, because of the fact that they're still traveling there. And as Stone said, Robert Stone, who's the GM, he was talking about being at MSG last week, that, the NXT stars always get up when there's a road show, when you're outside of the Performance Center and when you're putting on NXT, from some location. So I don't necessarily know why NXT is going weekly now. They're starting up house shows. I think this Thursday is going to be like starting up weekly house shows on Thursdays of all days, which is weird, for like a couple weeks in a row. I know they're coming to like Buffalo, New York, and I know they're going to some other places for weekly house shows. But I'm wondering like why weekly house shows instead of, instead of the television taping. Maybe you could also do the house shows, but the fact that TV tapings are still occurring at the Performance Center, I just think personally, NXT is obviously not the biggest brand in the whole world, so it's weird that where the level they're at, that I'm going to a house show when they're traveling. It's
they're going to draw on Utica.
Yeah, and I'm also, because they were doing house shows forever in Florida. That is actually not new. They've been doing like Lakeland, Florida, and some of these other small towns around where they filmed the TV show. That's not new, but to actually travel, to fly them from Florida to New York State, to do a house show, is just kind of strange to me, because again, the opportunity, I guess, to put it on television for their weekly TV show, because again, we're trying to grow the brand after we had the brand grown for a while during the Black and Gold days. I mean, they would be on TV weekly. I mean, Stand and Deliver would have absolutely been at a much bigger venue than the Factory music hall in St. Louis. It would have been at the Enterprise Center. It wouldn't needed to be at WrestleMania weekend. It could have been at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis all by itself. It would have outdrawn SmackDown back in the day, as they have done in the past. So that is, we got to regrow the brand to that level. So we'll just, see if these house shows help regrow that brand. I don't know if they'll ever get back to that, but that could be by design. So I don't necessarily know.
Curious to see. I mean, you'll let me know because I know
we will see. Who is there, right? We'll see who's still. Because again,
I wish I could go, but I just have work commitments. I just can't.
I don't necessarily know. If any of these guys are getting called up, if the call up starts now, or if we parade them around on NXT TV for the next 2 weeks, waiting for that call up. I guess because it's usual, like bam, Monday Night Raw is 2 days away, but now it's 2 weeks before WrestleMania. So I wonder with any of these people if they're going to get that call up, what NXT is going to do with them for the 2 weeks and how we're going to build storylines that are not congruent with WrestleMania. I guess we will find out. It's a unique situation. Normally, Stand and Deliver is WrestleMania weekend. This year it is not. This year there's going to be 2 weeks of television between now and WrestleMania, and NXT building up towards their next event. I'm not exactly sure what their next event is offhand. But either way, we'll see if any of these stars are starting to call up immediately, or obviously we have to wait for WrestleMania kind of thing. See if Joe Hendry gets himself in a little bit of a storyline between now and the Raw after.